Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday evening. This is the Southfield City Council regular meeting being held February 22nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. via WebEx. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Banks,
Present.
Brightwell,
Here.
Hoskins,
Here.
Mandelbaum, Morris,
Here.
Taylor,
Here.
Cruz.
Present.
Madam President, you do have a quorum. We'll excuse Councilman Mandelbaum, and we do have our city administrator and our city department heads on the
Councilman
line.
Mandelbaum is here.
Okay. Council President Pro Tem Mandelbaum is here. No need to excuse him. As I was previously stating, we do have other senior department heads on the line as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we have our presentations. We will have a presentation to honor our local musicians during this Black History Month. This is our last regular meeting. Excuse me, could I ask everyone to please mute their lines when they're not speaking? Thank you very much. We have a presentation to honor our local musicians during Black History Month. This is our last meeting before the end of the month. Mayor Siver, would you please do the presentation?
Good evening, Council and listening audience. This is Ken Siver. And as Council President Taylor has indicated, another one of our Black History Month activities is to honor several of our local musicians. And I want to start with two up-and-comers. One is a young lady by the name of Lena Michelle. Lena Michelle is an extremely powerful vocalist and a seasoned songbird who has hit epic milestones on her musical journey. In November 2018, Lena became the first African-American independent musical artist to perform original self-published music at a Detroit Pistons game at Little Caesars Arena. The following April, Lena Michelle was honored at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History for her performance at Little Caesars. In August 2019, she was presented with a Spirit of Detroit Award from the City Council. And in July 2020, Lena won Female Artist of the Year in Jacksonville, Florida, in a competition there. Lena has had several interviews on a variety of podcasts, including the CEO Circle, Artist on the Rise, Making Connections, and Choose Your Path. Further, she has had appearances on all of the local Detroit stations 2, 4, and 7. And she is regularly mentioned in Black Utopia, the online publication, and has also been interviewed by Native Son and Yahoo News. Secondly, a young man who's also on the rise, Lamar Willis. Lamar Willis was born and raised in Detroit. He's a proud educator, composer, and minister of music. Lamar has many years of piano performance experience and has collaborated with many high-profile gospel, jazz, and classically trained musicians worldwide. Lamar graduated from the University of Michigan School of Music. After graduation, he chose to become a vocal music teacher, and for more than 10 years now, Lamar Willis has been the vocal music teacher at MacArthur K-8 University Academy. I'm sure that many of you have heard his students perform. Lamar created an award-winning middle school choir, which is performed at the MLK Peace Walk and Celebration, Cedar Point, PTA Founders Day, America Park, just to name a few. Mr. Willis has also maintained a commitment to local community as a music coordinator for Cranbrook's Horizons Upward Bound program for the past 20 years. Additionally, Mr. Willis is an entrepreneur operating the Willis Entertainment Group for more than 10 years. Willis Entertainment Group provides private lessons for students of all ages interested in vocal training, piano, organ lessons, and as a Southfield resident, Lamar Willis has been the minister of music at Plymouth Church in Detroit for more than a decade. And moving on to two very accomplished local musicians, I want to start with Kimmy Horn. Born in Detroit, is known nationally and internationally from Atlantic City to Tokyo for her amazing alto voice. She has traveled and performed in Asia for 20 years consistently, making her a household name in Tokyo and other cities in Japan for producing Japanese Motown shows while embracing and enjoying Japanese culture. Kimmy Horn has performed at countless major jazz and blues festivals, the Emmy Awards, and at the Super Bowl's exclusive after parties. Matter of fact, that's where I met her when the Super Bowl was in Detroit. In addition, she has performed at all three Detroit casinos and the International Windsor Riverboat Casino. She has also premiered her live show of blends of jazz, pop, and R&B in Las Vegas at the Bellagio Casino Resort, Mandalay Bay Casino, the Venetian Casino, and Caesar's Palace. Kimmy has collaborated, performed with jazz greats such as Earl Clue's Soda Fountain Shuffle, Gladys Knight, Chaka Khan, The Temptations, En Vogue, the O'Jays, Martha Reeves, Stanley Clark, Ahmad Jamal, the Neville Brothers, Pieces of a Dream, Angela Bofill, the Contours, and the great Aretha Franklin. Kimmy is also proud of establishing her boutique Kimmy Horn Jazz Festival in 2016, which has expanded into an international jazz festival that runs an entire weekend in the city of Southfield. The Kimmy Horn Jazz Festival for 2021 is tentatively scheduled for August 13th and 14th. And finally, the fourth musician we're paying tribute to this evening is Randy Scott, also a Southfield resident, and his parents are longtime residents. Randy Scott was born and raised in Detroit. His parents were very supportive of his evolving love of music. His mother played piano and taught in the Southfield Public Schools. His father, who worked for Ford Motor Company, loves the blues. They have lived in Southfield for more than 30 years, and Randy attended Michigan State University, where he earned a degree in music education, and he continued his studies at Wayne State University, securing a master's degree in education. Randy Scott, although an accomplished guitar player, focused on the saxophone. Very early on, he established his own production company and recording studio with his father as manager. As a teacher in the Southfield Public Schools for more than 25 years, Randy has been able to multitask, teaching young people at Bernie K-8 school during the day, and after hours, writing, recording, and producing his own music. He signed with Trippin' and Rhythm Records, the largest jazz label in the world based out of London, England. He released his seventh album last August, Elevation. And in October, Joyride from that album debuted at number 1 on the national Billboard charts. In December, he was voted Smooth Jazz Breakout Artist of the Year internationally. He is a 3-time winner of nationally televised It's Showtime at the Apollo. He has performed at the Dubai International Jazz Festival and at the Penn Griffin School of Arts in High Point, North Carolina, which is the home of John Coltrane. Randy was a recognized performer at the White House, and rather a requested performer at the White House by both Presidents Bill Clinton and George W. Bush. Randy has 3 gold records, 2 platinums, 1 multi-platinum record for his work in gospel, WOW compilation CD, and recordings with Grammy Award winners Fred Hammond, Kirk Franklin, and others. And finally, he has his own station on Apple Music, Pandora, and Amazon.com called, of course, the Randy Scott Channel. So we're honoring, as part of our African American and Black History Month observances, these 4 local musicians. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Are either of the musicians here? Would either of them care to speak to us tonight?
I don't know if they've called in.
Okay, well, hearing none, thank you for that presentation. Council, did anyone have any comments or anything for the mayor? All right, then we'll move on to our next presentation, which will be by our Tyrese Beeks for the code enforcement. She's going to go over business registration. We should have received something in our packet. Ms. Beeks, are you ready to present?
Yes, I am.
Great.
Good evening. My name is Therese Beeks. I am the Acting Code Enforcement Director for the city. This evening, I will present information regarding business registration as it relates to home-based businesses. I will also touch base on the city's current ordinances on potential home-based businesses and what code enforcement considers in citing potential home-based businesses. Next slide. In today's connected world, home-based businesses are on the rise. Technology affords homeowners the flexibility to work remotely and pursue entrepreneurship. With the practice of social distancing due to COVID-19 and the convenience of having a virtual customer base, the practice of home-based business will continue to trend. Southfield zoning ordinances are applicable to all circumstances of home-based business concerns. Next slide. A business registration program will allow the city to identify, track, and fulfill the needs of businesses and neighboring communities. Although a citywide business registration initiative may disclose the type of businesses operating in residential areas, identifying home-based businesses may prove to be beneficial to its owners. Such a program will improve the safety of the community, protect residential character, and provide opportunities for small business grants, loans, and other resources. Next slide. To protect the quality of life in residential districts, Southfield Code Enforcement can enforce Southfield zoning ordinance. Chapter 45 contains ordinances pertaining to home businesses. Section 5.22-7 prohibits marijuana facilities in residential areas. Section 5.28 prohibits the outside storage of goods and equipment other than for display and not including waste or scrap materials. Section 5.623 prohibits the storage of more than one domestic trailer and/or commercial vehicle, the storage of a domestic trailer and/or commercial vehicle in front or side yard, and the storage of a domestic trailer and/or commercial vehicle over 20 feet in length. Next slide. Section 5.62-A permits home daycares and group child care in a private home in which a permanent occupant is the caregiver and is licensed and/or registered by the state. Bed and breakfasts are permitted in a private residence in which the property owner permanently resides with special use approval. All permitted uses in residential areas are subject to special land use approval. Recent amendments to the ordinance allow for general businesses as a special land use in residential if owned by the city. Next slide. Marijuana facilities are prohibited in residential areas. Landscaping, snow removal businesses, and tree contractors operating from a home may be in violation of city ordinances if they store a fleet of commercial vehicles, trailers, and outside storage of goods. Businesses with a perpetual flow of customers, vendors, employees dispatching from the residents, and delivery trucks could create noise, traffic, and parking concerns for neighbors and increase traffic risks to pedestrians. Next slide. This photo is an example of a prohibited home business in Southfield. This company stored goods and equipment outside, a trailer in the front yard, and more than one commercial vehicle on the property until they were issued a citation from code enforcement. Next slide. Businesses with little or no perpetual visitor activity do not create a nuisance or safety risk for neighbors. Online businesses reduce traffic and carbon footprints since business owners do not have to commute to work. All permitted uses in residential districts are subject to special land use approvals. We also just amended the ordinance to allow for general businesses as a special land use in a residential district if owned by the city. Next slide. An example of an acceptable home business would be a web designer who has no perpetual customer visitor activity. Next slide. Code enforcement action is typically instigated by receipt of a home-based business complaint or is self-initiated based upon the following: perpetual customer activity, noise disturbance, outside storage of supplies, goods, and equipment, more than one commercial vehicle or domestic trailer, signs advertising business, or an increase in complaints. Code enforcement will also research property ownership and consult all available resources such as LARA to determine the type of business, business ownership, and number of employees. Next slide. The responsible party or parties for a home-based business can easily be determined and held accountable. The need for identifying stakeholders and responsible parties of traditional businesses and business districts exists. A business registration program should not be derailed, but I do recommend the business registration program be implemented in 2 phases. Phase 1 would execute business registration of traditional businesses located in business districts. Phase 2 would register home-based businesses in residential districts at a future date. While business registration is important, requiring home-based businesses to register during COVID would be ill-suited. Implementation should begin with traditional business locations rather than home-based businesses. Next slide. In conclusion, business registration is an important tool in meeting the needs of all businesses and their impacted communities. Business registration of traditional businesses located in business districts is needed to clarify goals and expectations of its stakeholders. A review of home-based business regulation is a topic for future discussion. The city has ordinances in play to address any safety or character concerns caused by home-based businesses. Next slide. And at this time, I thank you for allowing me to present to you this evening. Are there any questions or comments?
Thank you, Ms. Beeks. That was a very, very informative presentation, and I appreciate you taking the time to explain it all to us here on council. Council, do you have any questions for Ms. Beeks? I will go around and ask each council person if you have a question, and I'll start with you, Ms. Banks.
Thank you. How do we plan to identify home-based businesses?
Well, at this time, we do not have a plan because we do not plan to address home-based businesses at this time.
Okay, and then how do we plan to identify businesses? How do we register businesses that presently exist? How are we going to identify those?
Well, they're typically brick and mortar businesses. We do have a list of properties, addresses in the city, and we plan to go door to door to visit each property to see who is inside and see if there are any individual suites occupied by separate businesses.
Okay. And then you had mentioned bed and breakfasts are allowed with a special land use approval.
Yes.
I guess I just don't remember when we approved that, but is our planner there? Is our planner online?
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. When did we approve bed and breakfasts with special land use approval?
Within the last year to two, Ms. Banks, the Councilwoman Banks. When this is only for a limited set of properties that are historic in nature or owned by the city, just to give them the opportunity to preserve the historic nature of those properties. So there's only, I think, 4 to 6 properties that qualify in the city for bed and breakfast, and that's after a special land use approval.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the clarification. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
I have no questions. I want to thank Ms. Beeks for that thorough presentation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Cruz?
Yes, my only question was answered by Ms. Banks about the B&B, so I'm all set for right now. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilman Hoskins?
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Beeks, for this great presentation. My only question is, as we're going around and getting the info from the traditional brick and mortar businesses in our business district, have we looked at maybe getting information about if the businesses are like minority-owned businesses as well? I know we tend to get a lot of information, grants and stuff like that, specifically catered toward minority businesses. And I was wondering if that was going to be on this first go around as we're collecting that information.
Yes, we plan to send the code enforcement officer to each establishment to get to know the occupants, to see who's inside and what's inside.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mandelbaum?
Yes, thank you. It was a great presentation, Ms. Beeks. When we also talk, I mean, what about businesses that are actually inside homes? You know, we're talking about home-based businesses or residential neighborhoods, things like that. But, you know, if you go to like Google and look at a neighborhood, you'll see that there's like businesses that are pinpointed at specific homes. Are you going to be going to those homes as well?
During phase 1, we will visit brick and mortar businesses, but during phase 2, we're still working on how we're going to implement the business registration of home-based businesses. It's still up for discussion because, as I mentioned, some businesses have foot traffic and some do not. Some are web-based, online-based, and some are not. Our main concern is the businesses that are violating code enforcement violations from a code enforcement perspective. But it would be in the best interest of home-based businesses to register with the business registration program so that we can keep in contact with them.
Got it. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Morris?
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Ms. Beeks, for your presentation. I had a question about the home-based businesses. You listed some that were prohibited, and I was just wondering in regards to like a physical trainer, exercise trainer, would that be a prohibited profession for a home-based business?
Well, as Mr. Crow mentioned last week, the home-based businesses, none of them are permitted without special land use approval. A business that such as a personal trainer does have customer activity, and from a code enforcement perspective would be a violation of city code because they have foot traffic. And it's funny that you should ask. I have had that complaint in the past. Customer activity, a personal trainer was working out of his garage, and his business was registered to his property. And at that point, we did receive a complaint, and we did have to initiate a case.
Okay, so we may need to then, would we be then adding that type of business to the prohibited? Or
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, any business is any home right at this point. Home-based businesses are prohibited unless you receive approval from the planning department.
Okay.
So, but from a code enforcement perspective, because a personal trainer would have customers and visitors coming to their home, it would be evident from a code enforcement perspective that they are a home-based businesses, and that would be prohibited.
Okay, I got you. Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from anyone else on the call?
Through the chair, this is Planner Crode.
Yes.
Yeah, again, as Ms. Speaks had indicated, I think the phase 2, we will look closely working with council at possibly permitting some home-based businesses. I think the ones that are out of sight, out of mind, where they don't have customers coming, may be allowed and may be considered. She mentioned web-based businesses, and again, it seems pretty pretty not having a lot of traffic. However, some home-based businesses, web-based businesses have a lot of deliveries. And so you all of a sudden now you've got 20, 30 UPS and Federal Express trucks coming and going from your residents that didn't exist there before there was a home-based business. So it's a complex issue that more study needs to be done. But there is probably a handful of home-based businesses that everybody would be comfortable with. But we're not at that stage right now.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else before we move on? Okay. Well, again, thank you, Ms. Beeks. This was an excellent presentation, and I've enjoyed it. Thank you for enlightening us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Madam,
have a good evening.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Councilman Brightwell, I want to mention, speak a little bit on the prior presentation. I tried to jump in, but my mute button wasn't quick enough. But I just want to thank the mayor for honoring all the local musicians. I've heard and also seen perform several of those musicians, and they, just for public consumption, they are just as good as advertised. And I want to, in listening to their presentation, I thought it was great that we could recognize what some of the talent that is here local in the city of Southfield. It's a very good talent. Thank you, ma'am. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Next, we have appointments, and I will turn it over to Council President Pro Tem, Ira Mandelbaum.
Yes, thank you, Council President. The boards and commissions consisting of Councilwoman Banks and Councilman Cruz met. We did some interviews, and we want to make the following appointments. Some are reappointments and some are new. But we have the Board of Review. We have a reappointment of Willie Davis and an appointment of Larry Snyder. Larry Snyder was an alternate, and he is now becoming a regular member due to a vacancy. And I will put in a shameless plug. We are now looking for an alternate for the Board of Review. So if you're interested, please contact the clerk's office or see the city's website for an application. The Commission on Senior Adults, we have 3 appointments. Brenda Chambers Threet, I hope I said that correctly, Vanetta Mitchell, and David Rubrick. they all had great experiences and ideas to help move COSA forward. So we're looking forward to implementing theirs. The Construction Board of Appeals, these are all reappointments. The Construction Board of Appeals is used in case there's any disagreements between builders and our in-house building department. They very seldom meet, as we're able to work out issues beforehand. And then we have the Veterans Commission, the reappointment of Gerald Houston, who's currently serving as the chairperson, and appoint 2 new members, Shaka McDonald and Stephanie Shannon, who both have great experience and ideas in helping veterans in their current positions, and some of their work and their volunteer work. So we'd like to have them help out even more as official members of the Veterans Commission. So we have listed all of the terms, and I'll entertain any questions if anyone has any.
Okay. Council, I will ask does anyone have any questions? So I'll go through and ask each council member if you have any questions. You can make your comments or ask your questions at that time. And I'll start with you, Mr. Brightwell.
No questions.
Thank you. Councilman Cruz?
No questions at all. I was on the committee, so I was satisfied.
Yeah. Councilman Hoskins? Okay. Councilman Mandelbaum, you're on the committee, so Councilwoman Morris?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilwoman Banks?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. So, Council, I'll entertain a motion.
Councilwoman Banks, I'd like to make a motion that we reappoint to the Board of Review Willie Davis, appoint to the Board of Review Larry Snyder, appoint to the Commission on Senior Adults Brenda Chambers Threat and Vanita Mitchell, and also David Rupichet. Reappoint to the Construction Board of Appeals Michael Cooper and Jason Rogers, and also Joseph Veriser, and reappoint to the Veterans Commission Gerald Houston, appointment to the Veterans Commission Chaka McDonald, and also appointment to the Veterans Commission Stephanie Shannon.
Support.
Thank you. It's been motioned by Councilwoman Banks and supported by Councilwoman Morris for us to approve the reappointment and appointments as has been presented. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Brightwell,
Yes.
Hoskins,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
and Banks.
Yes.
The appointments and reappointments, as previously mentioned, have been adopted.
Thank you. And congratulations to all of you for your appointments and reappointments. Welcome to the boards and welcome back to the boards. Thank you. Okay. Next, we will have 2 sets of minutes.
Madam Chair, this is Councilman Brightwell.
Yes.
Yeah, I have on the first set of minutes, with respect to, on page 2, we have the planner's annual report, and I made suggestions about that report, and Mr. Crow did make changes to his report based on my suggestion. And so it's not, I think that should be recognized since that there were changes made to that particular annual report of the planner, wherein I made changes suggesting that we have dates associated with the items that he had presented, a date and a range of dates in that report was changed to reflect that.
Okay. So you were asking for that to be noted somewhere in our minutes, or you just
Yes.
wanted to? Okay.
No, it should be noted in the minutes that there were changes made to the final report based on the comments that were made.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you like to add those comments if they're not already there?
Yeah, we can add the comments based on Councilman Brightwell's commentary that he just entered into the record this evening. So I would humbly request that we could just approve the minutes as amended per his recommendation for February 1st.
Okay. But, okay, so when you make that motion, would you please include that, whoever makes the motion?
Madam Chair, this is Councilman Brightwell. I would like to make a motion that we approve minutes dated February 1, 2021 as amended. And also, I would like to make a motion, we approve the regular meeting minutes of February 8, 2021 as presented.
Councilwoman Banks, support.
Thank you. It's been motioned by Councilman Brightwell and supported by Councilwoman Banks for the approval of the Committee of the Whole meetings of February 1st with the amendment as presented, and the approval of our regular meetings of February 8th, 2021 as presented. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Hoskins,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
and Brightwell.
Yes.
Minutes of the Committee of the Whole, February 1st, 2021, approved as amended per Councilman Brightwell, and the minutes of the regular meeting of February 8th, 2021 have been approved.
Thank you. We have one consent agenda item to review and approve.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is Councilman Mandelbaum. I'd like to make a motion that we approve consent agenda item A.
Support Councilman Cruz.
It's been motioned by Councilman Mandelbaum, seconded by Councilman Cruz for the approval of consent agenda item A, which is the agreement with Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transit for the Specialized Services Operating Assistance Program. Contract period is October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2021. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz,
Support.
yes, yay or nay?
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell,
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
Consent agenda item number 1 has been approved.
Thank you. Next, we have our public hearing for PZR 20-0007, the rezoning request of the City of Southfield to rezone 7.78 acres of land for I-L light industrial to I-1 industrial properties located at 19800 West 8 Mile Road. Mr. Crowe.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This is a public benefit rezoning. The city's doing this on behalf of the property owners, as you stated, rezoning from light industrial to industrial. Next slide. Currently, there is a number of non-conforming uses within the existing light industrial district, and we're trying to bring these into conformance. Next slide. Current zoning is light industrial as indicated. Next slide. And our future land use plan that was adopted 5 years ago during the last master plan update saw this area as going to all industrial to correct some of those non-conforming situations. Next slide. And so this would show the proposed zoning amendment to industrial, which is consistent with all of the surrounding parcels on Maple Ridge. Next slide. So Planning Commission and the department have made favorable recommendation to rezone from light industrial to industrial because it is consistent with the comprehensive master plan, which indicates on the future land use map industrial uses. The change in zoning would be compatible with and similar to existing adjacent zonings, and the proposal is in accordance with standard for rezoning of the property. Next slide. If we could go back one, this is a public hearing. So at this time, Madam Chair, I'd ask that you open the public hearing. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council may have afterwards.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. I'd like to open that up to the public now for PZR 20-0007. If there's anyone on the line that would care to speak to this topic, you will have 3 minutes. Please give us your name and address at this time.
Good evening, Madam Chair, and good evening to Council and also the Mayor. My name is Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. I'm looking at the agenda with the public hearing, and I think that having all of these numbers, a distance here, a distance there, it's like the general thrust of the public hearing and the purpose of why there is a public hearing, what they're moving from going to, is lost in all of the numbers. So can you go back and request to Mr. Crode the beginning of what he said they were moving from light industrial to industrial, and I wanted to know the reason why before I make my point.
We'll have him clear that up for you after, because then it'll interrupt into your time.
Okay, well, I'm not clear as to why there needs to be a rezoning if it's already light industrial. I can't understand the need and the purpose for making it industrial. I think that the public hearings should be, this public hearing maybe should be postponed until you can come up with a more simplistic description of the public hearing. And instead of putting all these numbers that look like a repeat after you've read maybe 2 or 3 lines of the numbers, and then state the nature as to why you want to go from a light industrial to an industrial zoning or rezoning, I think would be more conducive to the residents. And lastly, I wanted to know, were the residents and other businesses in that area contacted to see if changing from a light industrial to an industrial would affect their business in any kind of way? And thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else?
Did you want to speak, my love? Okay.
Madam Clerk, do you see anyone else on the line?
Madam President, I did just unmute everybody. Doesn't seem like anyone else wants to participate in the public hearing this evening, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Hearing and seeing none, we will now declare the public hearing closed. Council, I will entertain your questions and thoughts and comments. And I'll start with you, Councilman Cruz. Okay, we'll come back to Councilman Cruz. Councilman Hoskins? Oh, I can't hear you.
Nothing right now. Thank you.
Oh, is that Councilman Cruz?
Yeah, it sounded like him. It looked like his internet was going in and out. It was kind of muffled.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. I lost power.
Oh.
Today, and it just cut off again. So I may have to come off of this call, Council President.
Okay.
And,
Okay, thank you.
I'll try
Okay.
back in a moment.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know what's happening right now, but I have no problem.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Hoskins?
No questions for me on this. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Councilman Mandelbaum?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Councilwoman Morris?
No questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Banks?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councilman Brightwell?
No questions.
Okay, thank you. I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Crode.
Yeah, just again, I'll just try to clarify. There are a number of existing non-conforming uses in this area, even though it's zoned light industrial. They are acting more of the industrial nature. The highest and best use for this property is industrial. We had discussed with the two residential property owners. They are in favor of this rezoning, and this is consistent with the future land use plan and the master plan, which was adopted by the council 5 years ago. So for all those reasons, we are recommending a favorable zoning amendment from light industrial to industrial.
Okay, thank you. Council, can I get a motion?
Madam Chair, this is Councilman Brightwell. I'd like to make a motion that we introduce ordinance number 1733.
Well, we're voting.
Yeah, I think the appropriate is to approve it first and then
Yes.
use it as a
Okay.
separate motion. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, I make a motion that we approve PZR 20-0007 rezoning request.
Support, Councilwoman Morris.
It's been motioned by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Morris for the approval of PZR 20-0007. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz, Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell,
Yes.
Hoskins,
Yes.
Mandelbaum.
Yes.
Approval of PZR 20-0007, the rezoning request of the city of Southfield to rezone and etc.
Now may I have the motion for the introduction?
This is Councilman Brightwell again. I make a motion that we introduce ordinance number 1733.
Support.
It's been motioned by Councilman Brightwell, supported by Councilwoman Morris for the introduction of ordinance number 1733. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz, Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell,
Yes.
Hoskins,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Introduction of ordinance number 1733 adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Council.
Council.
Mhm. Did you have any other comments, Mr. Crode, or no?
Not on this item.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone else on the call have a comment? Okay, thank you. Next, we have our site plan. Site
Yes,
plan.
if we could go to the next slide. Go ahead, Madam Chair.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, I'll introduce it then. Our next item is PSP 20-0012, site plan review request of Yukon Building and Land Development on behalf of the owner, Kiwi Hospitality, for site and facade improvements and a new entrance canopy on the north side of a 5-story hotel, property located at 26555 Telegraph Road. Next slide. And if you recall, the Round Tower was the former Holiday Inn, which is now the Best Western Premier. This is the portion of the property that has yet to be developed. It's a 5-story on the west side of the property, shown in this aerial. Next slide. Currently, it's zoned B3, and the future land use is compatible with Telegraph Road corridor, which does allow for hotel uses. Next slide. And this is the site plan that was previously approved. Council may remember from February of 2019, almost 2 years ago today. And at that time, that 5-story hotel, which is located on the left of your screen or the west of the property, the area in red indicated a drop-off canopy and a minor expansion of what then would be the hotel lobby. The plans have changed since that time, and they're now proposing a smaller drop-off canopy on the north side of the hotel. Next slide. These are current conditions or conditions of recent. There has been a lot of landscaping that has been done recently on the property at the end of last year, so it doesn't look as dire as this photo indicates. Next slide. And little tough to see, but you can see there's a little nub of a drop-off entrance point and a canopy on the north side of the property. And in essence, since this was a change, a reduction of what was previously approved by council and a relocation of that, we had to come back through full site plan review. Next slide. And this really shows the extent of the new addition. It's a small vestibule with an entrance point to the north side of the property. Next slide. And these are the elevations of the property. Physically, the building won't change other than the entrance point, but the facade will be cleaned up as part of the renovation. Next slide. And then here's the final product with some landscape improvements. Next slide. And this is our recommended conditions for approval. There is a waiver required by the Zoning Board of Appeals for 5 parking spaces. All the other conditions are standard as part of our site plan review. If we could go back one slide, Wendell, please. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council may have on the proposed renovations.
Okay, thank you. Council, I'll start with you, Councilman Hoskins.
No questions for me on this. Thank you.
Councilman Mandelbaum.
No questions for me. Thank you.
Councilwoman Morris.
No questions, thank you.
Councilwoman Banks.
Thank you. Terry, I have a question on the 2-story hotel.
Yes.
Between the existing high rise and this proposed. Is that open yet?
They received approval at the end of last year for these suites. I believe they are open, but they were recently approved, I believe, by the building department for their occupancy somewhere towards the end of last year, beginning part of this year.
And then what about the other remaining 2-story portion?
That was, again, as you look at this, the purple represents their phase 2 of their project, which received all of their certificate of occupancy. Part of that phase 2 on the south side was done during phase 1's renovation. It's really that kind of pale blue on the left that we're considering at this point. So it's been a 3-phase project. The taupe colors was phase 1, the purple was kind of phase 2, and the bluish gray is phase 3.
Oh, okay. And I mean, I have no problems with the site plan, but I didn't think the purple, I guess you could say north of phase 3 was even completed.
And it was as recently as towards the end of last year they were finalizing out their project.
Okay. Okay.
Those
thank you.
those were the executive suites, you recall?
No, I do recall, but I don't know why I thought the executive suites were between the 5-story and the round one, and the other.
Partially that
other
L shape. You are correct in the purest matter. There is a gap between the first and the third phase, but some of that is integrated into phase 1 and 2.
Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Councilman Brightwell
No questions.
and Councilman Cruz. Okay,
Council President, Ken Cyber, I do have a question for the planner through the chair.
yes.
Mr. Crow, at one time this was going to be a La Quinta Inn. It was going to be a separate brand from Best Western Premier. Do we know what brand this is going to be under, or is it just going to be Best Western?
I did ask that question, Mayor, and I believe the La Quinta brand has gone away, and I think it's opening up as the Best Western Premier, but I think it was still yet to be determined. The way they explained it to us previously is that they need a certain level of occupancy to get the national flag, and many times they'll operate it just like they did with phase 1 under their LLC until they meet a certain threshold to get the national brand. So my understanding is it's going to open as part of the Best Western, but it possibly could have another brand in the future. And if I could, through the chair, I didn't recognize any of the names on the call list, but I did want to ask if there was anybody from UConn on the line at this time that could better answer that question. And apparently there isn't, but I think, Mayor, we'll follow up and let all the council and yourself know if there's something different from what I just repeated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment before we vote on this? Okay, hearing none, council. Can we entertain a vote?
This is Councilman Mandelbaum.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve, sorry, PZR, PSP 200012, site plan request of Yukon Building and Land Development.
Support.
Councilman Banks, support.
It's been motioned by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Councilman Brightwell, for the approval of PSP 20-0012. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell,
Yes.
Hoskins, Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz. The site plan PSP 200012 has been approved.
Thank you. Next, we have our agenda items for discussion. Our first item is the Donor Partner LLC application for tax abatement, Public Act 328 of 1998 of the 400 Galleria, and they are requesting a public hearing for March 8th, 2021, if we have no objection.
Madam President, just to add real quick, these items are for discussion and or action because this is our joint meeting, just for full transparency to the viewing audience.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Madam President. This is Rochelle Freeman.
Hi, Shelley.
How are you this evening?
Hi, thank you.
Donor Partners LLC is coming back to City Council. As City Council may remember, on March 30th, 2020, the City Council did approve a PA 328 for them to remain at their location at 25900 Northwestern Highway for 12 years. However, COVID had forced Donor to reevaluate their office needs. And I have Naveen Posse of Donor here to share our short presentation that we offered before and give an explanation of why they are looking to relocate to the 400 Galleria. And again, they are asking for our support for a tax abatement for 12 years. Naveen?
Thank you, Shelley. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the time, and it's nice to be back in front of you, although in a bit of a different way right now. Yeah, so just as a quick reminder, and you can go to the next slide, please. And one more. So Donor, now 83 years young, born in Detroit, and we've been headquarters in Southfield in what was our current building at the time since 1987, with offices in other parts of the country. And I'll give you a quick update, and Shelley alluded to it. When we were in discussion with, just as a refresher, the current landlord that we had at 25900 Northwestern, as well as looking at other options in and around Detroit for the potential future headquarters. And when COVID hit, it obviously hit all of us, quite significantly. But I think for us as a business, it really, we went as many businesses did, to work from home seemingly overnight. We paused to kind of figure out how we can make that work for our business, for, the ongoing needs of our clients and our staff. And, really, I think as part of that, determined that we are desirous of a more flexible working environment in the future. And we do expect to come back to the office, and, vaccines and other things will help drive that. But I think for us and for many businesses that are contemplating what the future of work looks like, flexibility is important, as well as, having a space that suits how we work today. And we feel like we found that at the Galleria, which is great because it'll keep us in Southfield. It'll keep people coming to the office and patronizing the local businesses in and around the office. And will allow us to build out new space, based on what we think the future of work looks like for us and our clients, and also will allow us to, maintain good continuity in staffing, as well as allow for some more flexibility in how we staff our office. So I thought I would give you that as a backdrop in what kind of drove us to pivot, and we certainly appreciate the prior approval that we received for the building that we were contemplating staying in, and would certainly appreciate your consideration as we look towards, a long lease at the Galleria. And I'll give you all that backdrop, and I'll take you through a few more slides here just for more context, but I thought that might be important to orient you around kind of how we've pivoted. So if you could go to the next slide, please. I'll go through these pretty quickly. We've built a lot of iconic advertising over the years just to re-affiliate everyone to what Donor does and what we do for our clients. Next slide, please. Local, national clients that span the gamut, including Fiat Chrysler, McDonald's, and Hungry Howie's here locally, as well as, again, national clients, including Johnson & Johnson, UPS stores, Clorox, many hospital systems, et cetera. Next slide, please. And this is an important part of our business. We have a very large production hub that we would be rebuilding in our new headquarters facility as well. And this brings a lot of clients into the city because clients want to come in and sit in the studio while their films are getting edited. And we also shoot content out of these studios as well. So it brings creative talent, it brings director talent, and clients into the building, and they typically have stayed at the Westin in Southfield, just down the street from where we were, and again patronize the local restaurants and businesses. Next slide, please. And we are, as I mentioned, we're a talent-centric business, and it was important for us as we thought about how we pivot with our space to make sure that we're retaining the best talent in the area and recruiting the best talent from across the country, some which will, in this world, I think, still be able to work remotely and work maybe even from other cities. But we still have in our business, which is creative, and collaboration oriented, we have a high degree and desire to wanting to get people back together when it's safe to do so. And so this headquarters is still core to what we feel like the future of our business needs and how we produce the best work for our clients, which, again, which is why we're not just going completely remote, for for eternity, like some companies have chosen to do. Next slide, please. And, there is competition for our talent, and this competition, even since this slide, which, we put together back a year or so ago, is expanded because, as I mentioned, we are recruiting for and recruiting against really, any company in the U.S. that focuses on creative talent. And now, as I'm sure you've seen and maybe experienced, the ability to work remotely and not have to go to an office every day, just makes the competition for talent that much more competitive. But we feel like, again, that, real estate is a core part of that strategy, and having the right real estate and office environment to inspire those, as we call them, creative collisions that get the best out of work is something that we would want to have for the longer term. So again, not going completely remote. Next slide, please. And so, just to summarize, right now we're looking at this year new hires of 30 right now on a base of 300, so 10% growth. We're initially targeting about 70,000 square feet at the Galleria. We have an option for a written option, I'll say, for another 15,000 more at the outset, but they have more space when we need it. And obviously our desire is to expand as the needs dictate, as growth dictates. And the Galleria also does provide us with a campus and an ability to expand. And just for what it's worth, we're part of a larger network of advertising agencies owned by our parent company. And they've also discussed, nothing imminent, but bringing more of their agencies into Detroit and headquartering them, with us in a campus environment. So this could, and again, I can't commit to anything with that, but we do think that this campus environment that the Galleria offers could bring potential future growth to some of our sister agencies as well, coming into the Detroit area. And we're planning on, for this initial build out, about $12 million in leaseholds and technology improvements and furnitures and fixtures. And then obviously the Southfield would continue to collect real property taxes for the donor space and the entire complex based on any other agreements that you have. So that is the summary.
Thank you so much for that presentation. City Council, I'd also like to state that Mike Radcliffe, the city assessor, is on the line as well, if there's any questions for any of us. Again, we're looking to have a public hearing on March 8th.
Thank you. I will now open it up to council. I'll start with you, Mr. Mandelbaum.
I have no questions. I'm glad that you're still staying in the city and investing money in the city. So I'm glad for that. I will miss driving down the freeway and seeing the big Donner logo on the side of the building, but.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a tough decision, I'll be honest with you, because that was that was our space and our building. So to move into a campus, it's a different dynamic. But again, for all the reasons I discussed, we think it's the right decision for the future of our business. And you will still see a donor sign. It'll just be on the Galleria now instead of on the building at 25900.
Yeah, so I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Morris?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Banks?
Thank you. Did you say that your previous location, what will happen to that building?
As far as I know, they are putting it on the market for a new tenant, but I don't have the specific plans on any potential occupancy of that building.
We will work with Showstack, the owners of the building, to help market the property. There are still tenants looking to come from out of state and again to relocate within the city. So we'll definitely assist them as we can.
Thank you. And Shelley, did you say last year we approved a tax abatement for donor at their Northwestern location?
We did start the paperwork. It was never submitted to the state because COVID hit and they began reevaluating their needs. And so we put it on a stop. So nothing was submitted to the state treasurer's office.
Okay. Mr. Pazzi, I'm glad to see that you're remaining in Southfield. You've been here for a long time, and I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
No questions, and I appreciate it. I'm glad you're staying in Southfield.
Thank you.
Councilman Cruz? Okay, Councilman Hoskins?
Thank you. And I just echo what my colleagues have said. I'm glad you're remaining in the city. I remember us having this discussion. I think it was my very first council meeting.
Yeah, that's right.
From that point until now, I'm glad you guys are still here, and we're looking forward to you staying here for a while.
Thank you very much.
Yep. So thank you. Thank you very much for staying here in Southfield.
Council President?
Yes.
I have a question, if I may.
Yes.
To the donor representative, you said you're doing 70,000 square feet over at the Galleria. What is your current space for donor on Northwestern Highway?
Sure. The main building that we occupied was 106,000 square feet. And as I mentioned here, we got 68,000 in what I'm calling our phase one plan that we're working on construction drawings for, and an option for an additional, call it 15,000 square feet as an initial option from there. And just to, I guess, further correct, we had 106,000 square feet. And we also had a sublease with another tenant of 20,000 square feet in the other space.
Well, I think it's just informative as we are all, I would say, anxious about how our office use is going to roll out following the pandemic, as we're hearing similar stories of not needing as much space. So it sounds like you're doing about a third reduction. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have a comment? Okay. Hearing none. This will be moved to March 8th, where we will have the public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Okay. Our next item is the International Automotive Components Group North America, Inc. Application for tax abatement, Public Act 328 of 1998. They're requesting a public hearing on March 8th, 2021 also.
Yes, good evening once again. Our next project is IAC, and as City Council may remember, on October 13th, City Council did approve a PA 328 for IAC. However, we jumped the gun a little bit and we approved it, and they are moving into their space this year in 2021. The Michigan State Treasurer's Office requested that we resubmit the request for this year so that we can achieve the full 5 years that IAC is looking for. I have Chris Bernacki of IAC to share a short presentation and ask for this request.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you, Chris.
So this is similar to I'll try to go brief. I'll be brief because we went through this in October. So, next slide, please. So basically, yeah, we remember we are a global tier 1 automotive group with making the interior of your car, everything, but basically the seats in your car basically is the only thing we don't make. As you can see, we're located in 70 locations in 17 countries with 18,000 employees. I think we're around, for 2020, we're finalizing our financials now, but I think we're around 3.7 again. We basically serve all major OEMs, and we're recognized as one of the top interior automotive companies in the world. And we have our whole global headquarters in Luxembourg, and we're looking for basically your support. And as we talked about, we're moving our headquarters from Telegraph Road, the building on 12 and Telegraph, to the building in American Center. And as Shelley alluded to, we're very happy that you guys allowed us to incentivize us to stay in Southfield, and we appreciate the support of the council and the citizens. But we, as Shelley said, we jumped the gun a little bit and we agreed to do a 5-year lease at the American Center, and by doing it in 20, we're losing a year of abatement. So we asked Shelley and the board to basically reconsider just re-granting us the same thing you agreed to give us in October of October 21. And obviously there's no more increase in financial outlay for the city. It's just retiming what was already granted in the first place. We can keep going. Next slide. So basically, as I said, we make the instrument panels, door panels, overhead systems, and bumper systems for your car. So pretty much we do mostly interior, but we also do exterior. Next slide. So as you can see, this is our North America footprint. We're pretty much in the Midwest and Eastern. We've got operations a lot of operations in Mexico, and one brand new state-of-the-art facility that we opened in Arlington, Texas last year. Next slide. So these are locations both in North America and Europe and Asia and South Africa. So we have operations in in China, with headquarters in Shanghai. We have our European headquarters located in Dusseldorf, Germany, and our North American headquarters, we're proud to say, is in Southfield, Michigan. Next slide. So basically, we came to you and we moved from Dearborn in 2011. I don't know how many of you guys were in the board back then. Congratulations, you were. But we moved in 2011 to the building now in 12 and Telegraph, and we basically we're very happy with the building, but with kind of donor with COVID and moving things around and downsizing basically the company a little bit and restructuring from a footprint, we basically moved a lot of people that were in Southfield. We moved quite a few of them out to the plant locations, making the plants full-fledged businesses and standalone businesses based on the leadership's desire to kind of make the plant locations be more self-sufficient and operate on a standalone business. So we decentralized a little bit from Southfield and moved quite a few people out over the last couple of years to the plant locations. So overall, we didn't decrease too much, but unfortunately, the central headquarters in this location here downsized quite a bit. We're still owned by private equity firms. We used to have a hard trim and soft trim business, but we sold the soft trim business quite a few years ago. and the company basically is focusing on the hard trim, which is the doors, IP, hard trim, and console IP consoles. So next slide. Basically, as I stated, we sold, I think we went over this, so we sold a third of the business. Basically, that caused some of the business, the building to be kind of a third of about, I don't know, there's 27 manufacturing facilities, and I can't remember how many people left in the move, but quite a few people left the city of Southfield building and went to another Southfield location in down the road here. That business is called Oreo Solutions. So basically, we stayed in Southfield. We just kind of decentralized in the sense of the business splitting and a 1/3 of the business going to Oreo Solutions. So basically, we did that business to basically put money back into the business and basically retool a lot of our manufacturing facilities that we have and help fund the state-of-the-art facility we opened in Arlington, Texas. Next slide. Basically, as I stated, our current headquarters in North America is at 2833 Telegraph Road. It's 114,000 square feet, you see, and our lease is ending at the end of April. And we are moving we're starting occupancy. I think we can get into the American Center on April 1, at 275 Telegraph Road. And we're going to 9,000 square feet. So about 165 employees will be moving in there. We're on the 21st and 22nd floors. Basically, I think, I'm not sure. I think there's a tenant in this building now. I think people are going to move in this building. I think maybe Shelly or someone knows that for sure, but I think I heard it got released. But so I think a new tenant is moving in after we move out. So next slide. So basically, we're occupying 31,000 square feet at Forest 2021. April 1st is when we're moving in. I think Redico owns this building. We're moving over there in another Redico building. We are very excited about the new building. There's every day we get updates on the construction and things that are going on. We're in a process of actually packing things up now and trying to figure out move plans. So it's a very exciting time around here. 165 employees will be moving. We just got done and we're in the process of moving 80 people out of Southfield to go to Troy because we redid our Troy facility. So we're moving all of our engineering people from the Southfield. So what will be left in the new facility is most of our accounting, legal, tax, some engineering, but not sales, purchasing, procurement. So mostly administrative in headquarters. But unlike Donor, I guess we have our leadership basically believes in the auto industry. We all believe strongly, kind of in the Tesla model, where we believe we need to be in the office. We don't think it works well for us to be remote. So our leadership is pushing us to be and thinking through safety requirements that we need, but we will plan on being, and on April 1, as soon as the state allows us to go back in, management will be, we desire all 165 employees to be in the office and new footprint as soon as we can get in with the state orders. So we will be in the office frequently and going to lunches and things like that in the Southfield location. So we're looking forward to getting back to work in the office. So we're planning on spending $2.1 million of improvements. I think it's actually I didn't update it, but I think it's actually, we ended up unfortunately for we spent more money than we anticipated, but not too much more. I think it might be 2.5 in the build out right now. So we anticipate that the abatement of the 328 will be $231,485 over the 5-year period. Next slide. That's just a little look at our footprint of the American Center and how it's set up right now. We aren't changing too much. We're just trying to not the layout itself, where offices are in the center, cubicles on the outside. It's a pretty nice view, as you guys know, from the American Center. So we're trying to keep the light throughout the building and make it flow but we're expanding a lot of we took over the extra space that's not lined out here, so we're building out almost all the floors, so utilizing all the space. So next slide. So as I stated, we're very happy with our location, and we're very happy that you guys gave us a 328 opportunity. So we're looking obviously to stay, and obviously we are staying, but we appreciate you guys considering and retiming this for us so we can get the maximum abatement that we requested originally. Shelley was very nice to work with and everything, and Mike, the assessor, was awesome to work with, but unfortunately we jumped the gun, as Shelley said, and submitted the paperwork, and the state had the technicality of chopping off a year from us. So we were hoping that you guys were gracious enough to reconsider and give us the 5 years that we originally requested. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chris. Again, Mike Radcliffe is on the call. We did have a conversation with the state treasurer's office. We had originally suggested that we amend the original agreement. They stated that it would be best if we went back through the process again. So that's what we're looking to do, and we're looking to hold the public hearing on March 8th for this project. If there's any questions?
Okay, thank you very much. I'll go to council, and I'll start with you, Councilwoman Morris.
I'm sorry, I could not get off mute. I have no comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Banks?
No comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
No questions. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Councilman Cruz? Councilman Hoskins?
No questions for me on this. Just like Donor, I look forward to you working and being in the city for a long time.
Thank you. Councilman Mandelbaum?
No questions, but I echo what Councilman Hoskins says, that we're glad you're staying around.
Thank you. All right.
Madam President, can we go back to item A? We do need to make a motion to schedule the public hearing for donor, and we need to repeat that for the IAAC item as well.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We need to make a, I'm sorry. Would you repeat that again for me?
I need a motion to schedule the public hearing for donor, which would be item A. No, Rule 10 is needed because this is a hybrid meeting, and I would need an additional motion for item B to schedule the public hearing for IAAC.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Madam President?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we schedule the public hearing for donor on March 8th.
Support.
It's been motioned by Councilwoman Morris, supported by Councilman Brightwell, for us to schedule a public hearing for March 8th for Donor Partner LLC application for the tax abatement. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Brightwell?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Mandelbaum?
Yes.
Harris?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz? And Banks?
Yes.
Public hearing scheduled for Donor Partner LLC application for tax abatement for March 8th, 2021.
Thank you. Council? May I have another motion for International Automotive Components Group?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we schedule the public hearing for International Automotive Components on March 8th.
Support.
It's been motioned by Councilwoman Morris, supported by Councilwoman Banks, for us to approve the scheduling of a public hearing on March the 8th for the International Automotive Components Group North America. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Hoskins?
Yes.
Mandelbaum?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz? Banks?
Yes.
And Brightwell.
Yes.
The public hearing is scheduled for March 8th for International Automotive Components. Has been adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam Clerk. Our next item is Business and Economic Development Department 2020 Annual Report.
Yes, good evening. This is my last item, so I'll try and move through it quickly. I do have a slide presentation, if you could bring that up. I'd like to share the business and economic development accomplishments of 2020 and our goals for 2021. I'm calling this the COVID pivot. It's become the catchphrase of 2020. Next slide. Southfield Business Development, Oakland County, Michigan Works Southfield, and the Centropolis Accelerator did a major pivot in 2020. COVID-19 required all of our agencies to address the pandemic that swept through the world. Our goals were to keep the small businesses open, support our existing businesses and residents to become more competitive, enabling them to expand and grow in the city, encouraging and assisting with the future diversification of the city's economic base in growing and innovating industries and occupations, helping Southfield residents gain a greater competitive edge for higher skilled and higher wage employment opportunities in the future, and to strengthen the competitiveness of the city of Southfield by attracting new businesses. Next slide. I'd like to thank City Council, Mr. Mayor, City Administrator Zorn, for all of your assistance this year with our programs. All the city departments, especially assessing, DDA, planning, building, police, clerk's office, and all the departments. I tap on them as needed to assist with different projects, and everyone is always very responsive. Oakland County, Michigan Works Southfield office, Centropolis at Lawrence Tech, our Economic Development Committee and Councilwoman Morris, our Brownfield Authority and the Chamber of Commerce are all part of the Economic Development team. So thank you all for assistance this year. Next slide. Accomplishment 1, keeping small businesses open safely. Working with our local, regional, and state agencies, we shared a variety of resources to help our business community. We assisted Oakland County with the administration of $1.2 million in grants to about 528 small businesses. We provided guidance on a variety of other grants and loans that could help businesses stay open. We assisted in distributing personal protective equipment, working with code enforcement and community relations to get signs and information out to our restaurants to help them stay open. We helped source supplies for manufacturing and sharing opportunities for business ventures, such as one of our businesses that we had assisted with the PA 328 in the past, Reforma Group. They pivoted their sales to assist with manufacturing of hand sanitizer, and we helped them with supplies and worked with the state to get them the necessary supplies so that they could continue to assist with the emergency needs that were available. And we stayed connected with the business community. Next slide. Oakland County, Michigan Works Southfield is not really charged with assisting directly with unemployment assistance. However, with the overload that the state experienced, our staff was trained on providing specialized assistance to get people to the unemployment office and to address certain needs. With the new changes in the state and federal rules and state rules, unfortunately, they've come back to working with this program again, but they did a great job of helping the unemployed in the community, and they're doing a great job right now assisting people that have been unable to get any of their benefits. It's been a very tragic time for many of our residents and residents across the state, and our staff has been very compassionate in working with these families to help them get the assistance that they need. Next slide. As you know, we started the Community Cup Challenge 4 years ago, and as many of the businesses have been working remotely. It's been hard for the businesses to stay together, and it's been hard for them to concentrate on fun activities. And so we didn't want to let the Community Cup Challenge go by the wayside. We were able to get 19 companies to join us on a one-day competition. We had 2 virtual events on Thursday, July 23rd. We raised over $5,000 and decorated crates and put together supplies for warriors that are stationed around the world in the Army. So it was a really great project. Everyone had a lot of fun, and we're hoping that we can do something like a hybrid project this year as companies are coming back to work. Next slide. Centropolis has been a great facility in helping to diversify our company base in the community. They've been working since they opened to form 13 new companies with over 130 full-time jobs, and they've raised over $16 million in funds to help these companies grow. It's been phenomenal. Dan Randowski has done an outstanding job of helping during the pandemic. He has a strong background in manufacturing, and he was able to pull together his network of partners to provide critical personal protective equipment. He has himself, they created face shields that they were distributing to the local hospitals, and they still have face shields available. They've been incredible. They've also helped all these new innovators that have come forward during this time. And here's an example of the Halo. It's incredible, all the innovation that's taken place over the past year to really address the pandemic. And Dan has really been right there to help with that. Next slide. The accelerator, like I said, has been doing amazing work, and they are growing their offerings to include Michigan Clean Tech Hardware Accelerators. They're focusing on clean energy and climate tech and sustainable ventures. They've added Next Cycle Michigan, which is upcycling and utilizing waste to create new products and recycling, working with ROSAC and other agencies in the area to find other ways to utilize that waste instead of putting it in landfills. Again, they continue to expand the Industry 4.0 accelerator, working with Automation Alley and Lean Rocket. As you know, we've been working with Automation Alley for many years. They're the host of our Smart Zone. This has been expanded to be a statewide organization. So that's fabulous news, and it just brings more attention to our accelerator. And then they continue to focus on product manufacturing as an incubator. So they've been doing phenomenal things, and we look forward to showcasing all of their services to City Council in the future. Next slide. Oakland County, Michigan Works Southfield. As I said, they were really dedicated on assisting those that are unemployed. However, and when they were able to retool and move off of that, they have been doing a lot of other things. They've launched 12 virtual career fairs. They have taken their summer program, which they usually offered, and transformed that to an online career certification program. They've launched many different grants for job training to help people that are in transition in their careers. They've hosted Manufacturing Day, which was virtual, which was a lot of fun for the students. They've hosted several virtual job fairs, facilitated applications for the Going Pro Talent Fund, and they've even been the host for the county executive showcasing the internship program that is featured by the county. Next slide. And again, the city of Southfield continues to showcase our community as a great place to do business. And Trucklight and Morelli are two excellent examples of new businesses that are coming to the area. Because we haven't been able to travel, many of our meetings have been online, and we're utilizing all the different online platforms to meet with potential businesses. We've been working with the Detroit Regional Partnership, with the Michigan Israel Business Accelerator, attended workshops all around the world, the London Tech Week, Select USA, and continue to work with site selectors. And so we've been really out there showcasing the community. The pandemic shows that people can work anywhere around the world. So our goal is to showcase what a great community the city of Southfield is with our strong fiber optics, and continue to highlight the many benefits of being in our community. Next slide. For 2021, we continue to focus on business attraction, retention, diversification, educated workforce, and public-private partnerships. Next slide. Again, goal number one is business attraction. Due to COVID-19, we're not certain when we'll be able to go traveling and bringing site selectors into the area, but we continue to work with them virtually. We are a sponsor of an upcoming site selector event where 30 site selectors will be coming into the area. We believe that event will take place in July. It's been postponed several times, so I'm not quite sure. But we've also are updating our marketing material, again, to showcase all the positive attributes of the community and to show that we still are a redevelopment ready community with streamlined approvals and with all the outstanding placemaking efforts and all the art that has been added to the community. We continue to showcase that. Next slide. Business retention is still vital. Helping to support our local businesses is the most important thing that we can do. We are hosting a webinar on March 2nd to share with our restaurant community the Restaurant Relief Program, the funds that are coming from the Oakland County office. The city anticipates it will receive about $175,000. We're looking to help support restaurants to expand their outside eating areas, as well as to ensure that they have the latest technology. It's a small amount of money, but we're hoping that it'll make an impact for those so they can stay in business. Next slide. Business diversification, again, working with Dan and the Accelerator. We're looking to target some of these emerging businesses that Dan is working with, and showcasing Lawrence Tech and some of the other businesses in the area. As well, we have specialized software that we use to target marketing to different industries so that we can have a nice, well-rounded balance of businesses in our city. Next slide. Many families and children have been suffering during this pandemic. It's vital that we make sure that our workforce continues to be educated. Oakland County Michigan Works continues to offer webinars and programs to help our families stay up on the latest technology and make sure that they get the certifications that they need. We continue to offer assistance to the businesses to hire people for internships. And again, we continue to make sure that our workforce is kept up to speed with the latest of information. We're working with the Pistons Group and the Society for Manufacturing Engineers to bring a specific program to Southfield Public Schools. It's called Prime. Again, it's targeted information to make sure that the kids are up to date on all the latest STEM activities. Next slide. And again, we continue to work with public-private partnerships I sit on the board for several different organizations, including our Chamber of Commerce, and they've become a wonderful partner for us. Unfortunately, the last director didn't work out, and we promoted on an interim basis Jasmine Patton to be the interim chamber director. She has a very strong background in social media, and she's doing an excellent job. And she has my support for a full-time director position if she chooses. She's worked at the chamber for several years. She has a young family and was hesitant to take the position last year, but we think that she has really great potential. And her and all of our board members on the chamber have been real strong advocates for the city of Southfield. And so we continue to offer different events and work with all the different organizations in the area to showcase the city of Southfield. And that is my report. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Shelley. It was a very detailed report and very, very nice and very well presented. Council, I'll go to you and see if you have any questions or comments for Shelley. I'll start with you, Ms. Banks.
Thank you. Shelley, that was, as Councilwoman Taylor said, a very detailed and excellent presentation. I have no question. Thank you very, very much. You've been busy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
I have no questions. I'm familiar with Shelley's work through the Economic Development Committee. Thanks for the additional info tonight, Shelley. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Cruz? Councilman Hoskins?
Thank you. And thank you, Shelley, for this presentation. It's really good to see all the things that we're doing to support our businesses here in Southfield, and just echo what Councilwoman Banks and Councilman Brightwell say. Like, definitely you've been busy.
Thank you.
Councilman Mandelbaum?
Yep, thank you. Shelley, this is great that we're still during the pandemic moving Southfield businesses forward and trying to get things done. Your presentation was outstanding and very detailed, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And Councilwoman Morris?
Thank you. Yes, as chair of the Economic Development Committee, I am very proud of all the work that Shelley and all of us are doing on that committee to help, support and sustain the small business community in Southfield. I do want to make a comment. Shelley, your presentation was great, but over the weekend I found out about a small business that is kind of in a little bit of trouble due to the pandemic. Many of you may know of this restaurant, A Taste of Ethiopia. Mm-hmm. And so, people are kind of saying, hey, let's support. We don't want this business to go out of business. So, Shelley, I want to just make sure that we do reach out to her. She's very beloved, been in the city a long time.
Sure, I love her. Yeah, she's a great lady.
Yeah, great food. And, maybe we can tell her about the Small Business Relief Program.
Certainly. I am working with cable and community relations and our Chamber of Commerce. We did mail the applications to all of the restaurants, including their restaurant, but I will definitely follow up with her tomorrow.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for your presentation again. It was great.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So there's no action for us to do tonight. This will be placed on.
Matt, if it's possible, if we could have a motion to receive and file this presentation, that would be appreciated.
Okay. Council?
Councilwoman Banks, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the 2020 annual report for the Business and Economic Development Department.
Support.
Okay, it's been motioned by Councilwoman Banks, supported by Councilman Brightwell, to accept, receive, and file the Business and Economic Development Department 2020 annual report. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell,
Yes.
Hoskins,
Yes.
Vanderbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz. Motion has been adopted to accept the Business and Economic Development 2020 Annual Report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilwoman or Council President Taylor, if I may just add
Yes.
one comment. I think, and I appreciate that Shelley has really hit home on how this was a team effort. A lot of it led by her, and we're very appreciative of that. I just think it's been indicative of the support that the city has and concern that the city has had for residents and businesses, including the work that our Human Services Department, Rhonda Terry, has done. And I can't say enough about Lisa Strasky in the Michigan Works Office. As Shelley indicated, unemployment insurance really isn't their bailiwick. However, I had so many people call that just absolutely frustrated with the backlog, the website not working, the state website, and then coupled with, regrettably, the fraud that took place where people had claimed unemployment benefits that didn't belong to them. They belonged to somebody else. And I'm just so appreciative of, again, with the work that Shelley did, Rhonda, but our Michigan Works Office really helped. They really cut a lot of red tape, had inroads to the unemployment office so that some of these people were really, really at their wits' ends because they had lost their job and they were not receiving benefits.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to just give an update because there was a nice lull and a lot of people were being assisted. And then with the new administration comes modifications to things. And so many families and people are getting confused again by some of the changes. So Lisa and I actually were brainstorming today on some new ideas. And so Lisa's going to be sharing them with the county and with the state, perhaps making flow charts and having a webinar on how to fill out the new paperwork, because people are getting confused again, and the challenges are rising up again. And so we will be reaching back out to cable and community relations to share how to get through this new system, because it is extremely frustrating for these families. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to our next item, which is the authorization to purchase the additional emergency medical supplies and equipment.
Yes, good evening, Madam President, Council, and Mayor. This is Fire Chief Johnny Menifee.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm seeking authorization to purchase additional emergency medical supplies and equipment for the fire department. So back on March 16th of 2020, Council gave approval to purchase the emergency medical supplies and equipment from Boundtree Medical out of Dublin, Ohio, for a contract terms of March 17th, 2020 through February 9th, 2023. The total basic contract price was $270,000. That was $90,000 over the 3 fiscal years. But due to ongoing COVID pandemic and the rise in cost of equipment and the limitation of supplies, the medical equipment has gone up greatly, as well as we needed to buy additional personal protective equipment for our firefighters. That being said, I'm seeking authorization to purchase an additional $50,000 of supplies and equipment through the remainder of this fiscal year. Estimated fiscal expenditures for this year of $50,000 are based on the unit price and estimated quantities of needs that we'll need for the remainder of the year. These funds are in our FY21 fire training and EMS budget. I have vetted this additional purchase through purchasing in our finance department. I'm seeking authorization to spend an additional $50,000 for the remaining of this fiscal year at Boundtree Medical.
Okay, thank you. Council, Councilman Brightwell, I'll start with you.
No questions. I agree with this. If the chief feel that he need the supplies based on current demand, I'm supportive.
Thank you. Councilman Cruz? Councilman Hoskins?
No questions for me on this.
Thank you. Councilman Mandelbaum?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Morris?
No questions. Thank you.
And Councilwoman Banks?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this will be placed on the agenda.
Madam President, we'll be voting on this tonight.
So we're going to vote on everything on here tonight?
Yes, I believe that. Yes.
Okay, all right. I just need to know the right direction.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem.
Okay, Council?
Okay, Councilwoman Banks, I move that we authorize an additional $50,000 for the purchase of emergency medical supplies and equipment from Boundtree Medical of Dublin, Ohio.
Support.
It's been motioned by Councilwoman Banks, supported by Councilwoman Morris for the approval authorization of an additional $50,000 for additional emergency medical supplies and equipment. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Brightwell?
Yes.
Hoskins?
Yes.
Mandelbaum?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Cruz? Banks?
Yes.
Authorization to purchase additional emergency medical supplies and equipment has been approved.
Thank you. Chief Menifee, the next one is yours as well. Authorization to purchase vehicle lift system for the fire department apparatus division.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that last purchase also. Authorization to purchase vehicle lift system. So the council gave approval back in the earlier this year to purchase a portable vehicle lift system for the apparatus division. This lift station will be used for routine and emergency maintenance. We currently do not have a lift system in the department. This lift system will consist of a 4-column lift with remote control, 4 jack stands, setup, training, and delivery. The fiscal impact of this lift system will be $40,281.37. Funds are available in the equipment revolving fund. For this, I've also vetted this through our purchasing and finance department. I'm seeking authorization to purchase this lift system through Vehicle Services Group out of Madison, Indiana, for the total price of $40,281.37. This did not go out for a competitive bid. We are using a cooperative contract for this, but we're seeking approval to purchase this lift system.
Okay, thank you. Council, I'll start with Councilman Hoskins.
All right, there we go. No questions for me on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mandelbaum?
Chief, you said that this is more efficient than taking it over to the roundhouse. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the maintenance, the routine maintenance and emergency maintenance, and being able to schedule trucks and stuff with the roundhouse. This will be able to lift everything in our fleet, except for taking our ladder truck totally off the ground. It would take it partly off the ground. So yes, this would be more feasible for us to do a lot more preventive maintenance and repairs in-house.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Morris?
No questions. Thank you.
Councilwoman Banks?
No questions, thank you.
And Councilman Brightwell?
Chief, where would this lift be housed?
It's going to be at Fire Station number 2 at 9 and Beach Daily.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well. Okay. Well, thank you, sir. That's good enough for me.
Okay, thank you. And Councilman Cruz? Okay. All right, Council. Does anyone else on the call have any comments or anything before we take a vote?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is Councilman Mandelbaum. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the authorization to purchase a vehicle lift system for the Fire Department Apparatus Division.
Support.
It's been motioned by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Councilman Brightwell for us to approve the authorization of the authorization to purchase the vehicle lift system for the Fire Department Apparatus Division. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Hoskins,
Yes.
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz, Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell.
Yes.
Authorization to purchase the vehicle lift system for the Fire Department Apparatus Division has been approved.
Thank you. And then our next item and last one under the agenda is approval of agreement for resurfacing of 9 Mile Road from Evergreen to northbound Northwestern Highway. I believe that's engineering Lee Schultz.
Yes, good evening, Madam President. This is Lee.
Good evening.
So MDOT has presented their contract documents for this project. The proposed project includes both asphalt rehabilitation work and concrete slab repairs out on 9 Mile. If you've noticed out there, we actually have a mix of both asphalt and concrete. So we've got the dollars to do one of these rehab projects to increase the ride quality and our pacer rating for this road. The project also includes the usual sidewalk ramp upgrades to make them ADA compliant. We also have significant pedestrian signal improvements at the southbound Northwestern Service Drive, and then some minor traffic signal improvements at both the northbound Northwestern Service Drive and at Evergreen Road. During construction, only one direction of traffic can be maintained. So during phase 1 of the construction, we'll have eastbound 9 Mile closed. And during phase 2, we'll then flip and have westbound 9 Mile closed. Both phases will utilize 8 Mile Road as the posted detour. We're expecting construction to begin in May this spring and anticipated to be complete by October of 2021. Our total project cost, including the contingencies and the construction engineering, is estimated at just under $3 million. We've got federal funds in the amount of $1,723,578.75. This results in our Southfield share being $1,276,222.56. So funding for the Southfield for the city's share will be provided by the Road Bond Construction Fund. So we're recommending that your honorable body approve the project by adopting the resolution which authorizes the mayor and clerk to sign the MDOT agreement and then provide the funding from the Road Bond Construction Fund account.
Thank you for that information and your presentation, Lee. Council, I'll start with you, Mr. Mandelbaum.
No, I have no questions. I'm just excited we're continuing to fix the roads.
Great, thank you. Councilwoman Morris?
No questions for me. Thanks for the update, Lee.
Sure.
Councilwoman Banks?
No questions, thank you.
Councilman Brightwell?
No questions, no questions.
Okay. Councilman Cruz? Councilman Hoskins?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the call have any comments or questions for Lee before we take the vote? Okay, hearing none. Council?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agreement for resurfacing of 9 Mile Road from Evergreen Road to northbound Northwestern Highway, job number 1957 SFLD.
Support.
Okay, it's been motioned by Councilwoman Morris, supported by Councilman Mandelbaum for the approval of the agreement to resurfacing of 9 Mile Road from Evergreen to northbound Northwestern Highway. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mandelbaum,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Cruz, Banks,
Yes.
Brightwell,
Yes.
Hoskins.
Yes.
Motion approved for the agreement for resurfacing of 9 Mile Road and Evergreen northbound Northwestern Highway, job 1957 SFLD, and etc.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have communications. If there's anyone on the line that would like to speak to the council, now is your opportunity. Madam Clerk, would you please open all the lines for everyone?
Sure. They are open.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name
Hello.
is Gerard Mullen, Southfield Citizens Oversight Committee, Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan 48037. Madam President, tonight I wish to talk about Section 11.18. 11.18 in the Southfield City Charter. Section 11.18 is entitled Amendments, which describes how this council may, if it wishes, amend the Southfield City Charter in one easy step. Sad to say, this one easy step conflicts with the not so easy two-step Michigan state law, known as the Michigan Home Rule Act of 1909, thus making Section 11.18 null and void. 11.18 became null and void way back in 1958, when the Southfield Founding Fathers attempted to adapt the Michigan Home Rule Act into the original Southfield City Charter. That's when the 9-member City Charter Commission mistakenly deleted the second step in a two-step process. State law mandates yesterday and today that it takes two mandatory steps to amend the Southfield City Charter. Unfortunately, 11.18 totally deletes state mandatory step number 2. In a word, after 63 years, it is about time that you folks here on this city council wake up and do yourself a felicitous favor and fix Section 11.18, along with the many other flawed sections in the Southfield City Charter. If not you, then who? Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Attorney, would you mind responding to Mr. Mullins? I know that you've researched this topic. We've discussed it several times.
Yes, good evening, Madam President. What Mr. Gerard is saying is repetitive, and the section he references states that we use the Home Rule City Act, which is a state statute, and therefore, when he makes the comments that he does, they're very erroneous because we have to go by the state law, which says what you need to do in order to amend the charter, which is either it can be by a petition or it can be by a resolution, which is something we did just this past year. Once it was passed, the resolution by 3/5 vote, it then was taken to the electors, put on the ballot for the citizens of Southfield to vote upon. So I'm not really sure where he's getting his information, and it's just incorrect what he says because the home rule city is what we have to abide by, which is the Michigan state law. So again, I'm not sure what he is when he says is incorrect.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak to under communications tonight?
Yes.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Okay.
I just wanted to say my husband is getting his information, Gerard Mullen, from the Charter and also from the Home Rule Act. So, Madam Attorney might want to read a little bit further to understand the point that he was making. Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. My telephone number is 248-346-0439. And to all the residents that stop me when they see me at the post office to share their concerns about city matters, I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your trust in me for almost 40 years in this city. And Madam Chair, I want to thank you and the Council President Pro Tem, Councilman Mandelbaum, for getting order and controlling the noise and the interference that we have during these business calls, which are still council meetings. We've done a lot of work in terms of road construction and resurfacing in the city of Southfield. And too bad I didn't get a chance to ask Lee Schultz these questions during her presentation. So I want to go to one of our esteemed council members who's a mechanical engineer, and that would be Councilwoman Morris, because she ran on the premise that we needed an engineer to fix the roads and to provide oversight. So she said that she was given an update by Ms. Lee Schultz. Through the chair, I would like to just ask a simple question. Why are we resurfacing roads that we've already done, and in less than 6 months to a year, what we have done is crumbling, and we have to do it again. So I'm just trying to figure out, are we still getting her oversight? And if she could get another update from Lee Schultz in reference to why we have to do resurfacing over the resurface that we've already done. And then also, too, when we have these little breaks in the belts of the roads, which would be the area right where the dotted line is that separates the two lanes, that area is not deep. We're not chiseling out to go down to a certain level to smooth it out. All they're basically doing is just throwing asphalt there. Is there a reason why we cannot put concrete back in that very small area? And then Councilman Fracassi, when he was there, he always talked about other affluent areas using concrete in places versus the city of Southfield using asphalt. So either to our esteemed mechanical engineer on council, Councilwoman Morris, or to our city engineer, Ms. Lee Schultz, can we get those questions answered, because we want to make sure that we are getting the oversight that we were told that we were going to get, and that we are getting the roads and the best quality done. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Yes.
Council President, we got a couple other people. Yes.
Okay.
I would like
Hello?
to speak. Hello?
Yes, hi. Yes.
Hi. I'm Chris Cleveland, and I'm an employee for the city of Southfield, and I'm calling council. Has any update on the status of our TPOAM contract that we voted to ratify back in November?
Well, we are not, we're not in a position to respond to whether a contract has, where we are on the contract. That has to go through your union and through our administration.
Oh, okay. My understanding in talking to my union and administration was that it had to be approved by the city council. And
Once it's presented to us. So I'm sorry, was your question, I'm sorry. So are you asking me if we've been presented with the contract?
Yes, I am.
Okay. No, we have not been presented with a contract for us to vote on at this time.
Okay. Okay. You answered my question. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is Alexandria.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, I didn't know if anybody was there. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, this is Alexandria. I'm a Southfield resident, also behavior therapist and activist. I just had a question about, I saw that, and you guys may have seen it too, the STAR program in Denver, where the emergency 911 calls are responded to by mental health professionals. The emergency calls pertaining to those with mental disabilities, of course. And I just wanted to know if council has considered something like that, or possibly considered setting aside funds for something like that and look into that kind of program.
I will defer that one to administration.
Okay, the mayor or?
Well, I know that there's several new programs that our police department is looking at when we have a response, and also our fire department. I'm not sure just what particular items they're looking at, but there are, because of the state of the world that we're in right now, there's so many different things that are being looked at, different trainings and that kind of thing. I'm not sure if that specific topic has come up, so I can't comment on that, but we can get back to you. If you would leave your contact information with the clerk, we can get back to you with an answer.
Madam Chair, Ken Cyber, Mayor. This is in line with the work that the police department is doing with domestic violence and are using counseling services. It may not be completely what the caller is referring to, as not every person in distress is involved in domestic violence, but we are reaching out to agencies like the Haven and Domestic Violence Group for assistance with the police department for those types of mental health issues. I'll just add that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Is there someone else?
Madam President, that does conclude our individuals participating in communications this evening.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for calling in and voicing your thoughts and opinions. We appreciate that very much. Council, this is now your time, and I will start with you, Ms. Banks.
Thank you very much. I just want to remind everyone to please continue to mask up, social distance, and wash your hands, and please stay safe. The numbers are declining in Michigan as far as COVID, and let's hope that we can get back to a semi-normal lifestyle, by summertime if we just continue to be careful. And also remember that, when your time comes to be vaccinated, we hope that you consider the vaccine. And if you are having any problems trying to get an appointment or need an assistance, there is a lot of information on the City of Southfield website, and also our Human Services Department is there to help and assist you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brightwell?
I would just echo what Ms. Banks has stated, and as my veterans know, I try to relay a bit of information. And obviously, if you're not a veteran, when you hear things, just relay it to a veteran if you become aware of knowledge. But the VA, as of around the first of this month, has administered over 1 million first doses of the Pfizer vaccine. And they administered approximately 400,000 of the second dose of the Pfizer vaccine. So if you're a veteran and you're in need of a vaccine shot, please get in touch with your primary care doctor at the VA. The VA is pushing this, and it's obviously well needed. This is the biggest crisis we have currently in our society, and we need to get this under control. And once this is under control, I think our lives can get a little bit more normal. So thank you, Madam Chair. That's it for me.
Thank you. Councilman Cruz? Okay, Councilman Hoskins?
Thank you. I won't add that much. I'll just echo what both of my colleagues had to say, making sure everyone stays safe out here.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Mandelbaum?
Just again, like everyone else said, just continue to stay safe, and please continue to check on the Southfield website and Facebook pages for different programmings that are being offered through the Parks and Rec and even the library services to help pass the time and try to get some type of outdoor experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Morris?
Yes, my comments too were about the COVID crisis, but my colleagues have already spoke to that. Just like to say, vaccines save lives. Please get your vaccine. Stay safe and be well.
Thank you. And since everyone's already talked about the COVID vaccine and virus, just so you know, under the administration piece, I've asked our city administrator to update us on the latest events and things that we have brought, that the city of Southfield is bringing forth. I believe it was mentioned that everyone cannot and do not use the web. And so there's some other things that the city of Southfield has started or have available to some of our seniors or others who do not use the computer or go on the website. And I have asked our city administrator to update us on some of those. There's a phone line that they can call in on and get the same help that would be afforded to them through the web. So I will not speak too much on that, but I will wait for our city administrator to talk about the status and updates of COVID and the COVID vaccine. Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Mayor.
Good evening once again. The situation with COVID in the community is that since the beginning of the month, we've had roughly, I think just about 110 new cases. So while Hope is on the way. We are not out of the woods. And since the pandemic started, we've had 265 deaths. So we can't let our guard down. We all know that we're tired of masks and social distancing and all of that. But I wanted to bring up a couple of other things. Just a reminder that our last event for Black History Month is this Friday night. It's the Storyteller event. Details, it's a virtual event. Details are on the city website under Parks and Recreation. And I believe it starts at 7 o'clock this Friday. Also, it's that time of year where we start, believe it or not, especially given the weather that we've recently been through, but this is the time of year we start preparing for tornadoes. And the Oakland County Emergency Preparedness will be doing the first test, I'm told, on March 6th, that's Saturday, March 6th at 1 p.m. As we enter tornado season. And the final thing I want to mention, Council and the listening audience will recall that I think it was 2 meetings ago, our state representative, Kyra Bolden, spoke about the CARES money that the federal government is offering $5 billion to the state of Michigan. And unfortunately, the legislature has not voted to accept the full amount. They're talking about, I think, roughly $3 million, or $3 billion rather. And so we know that our state senator, Jeremy Moss, and we know that our state representative, Kyra Harris Bolden, will certainly support spending the full amount. So I have written, sent an email, and I would encourage others. The bill is Senate Bill 114, and part of this bill is rental relief. We have about 16,000 rental properties in the city of Southfield. There are a number of people that have contacted us that are having difficulty paying their rent or unable to pay it. And this bill would assist them. And as I pointed out to the chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee, it also helps our landlords. We expect our landlords to maintain their properties. We expect them to pay their property taxes. And of course, it becomes more challenging if they're not collecting rents. So the chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee is Senator Jim Stamas, S-T-A-M-A-S. And I think he needs to hear from residents and citizens that we want him to move that bill forward for the full allocation from the federal government. And you can write to him by email. It's SEN Stamas, S-T-A-M-A-S. Again, that's Sen, J, S-T-A-M-A-S, at senate.michigan.gov. And I just think that it is short-sighted. If the money is being allocated, that the state should make it available and help the people who have been negatively impacted by the pandemic. Thank you, Madam Chair. Those are my comments for the evening.
Thank you. Next, we have administration.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Seeing you queued me up so well for the COVID, I would like to comment. The administration continues to meet with the entire management team every Monday and Thursday. There have been a number of references to COVID. We strongly encourage people to continue to mask up, social distance. We are monitoring the two new variants and their impact on the area. As many of you know, Southfield is host on three days a week to Oakland County, and we're asking that people keep in mind Oakland County is the primary provider of vaccines in the county. There are other private organizations: Beaumont, Henry Ford Health Systems, Essentia, McLaren. We will again run a full page ad in the Southfield Sun directing people where they can get assistance, how they can register with Oakland County. The Oakland County's their website is noc at oakgov.com. For our seniors who need help getting through the Oakland County system, we do have a hotline. That hotline is 248-796-4529. Again, that number is area code 248-796-4529. Our Human Services Department is staffing that. We've actually fielded in excess of 500 calls to seniors, helping them get through and navigate that registration process. The advertisement in the Sun helps people get through the other private providers, primarily healthcare providers. In the next week or two, there will be more pharmaceutical entities, both CVS and Walgreens, start and roll out their vaccine production capabilities. I would like to comment regarding mental health. Our police department has made a number of steps as we continue to integrate our community policing efforts to address domestic violence and, yes, mental health, homelessness, and other areas that our police department finds themselves dealing with. We continue to adopt those 21st century best practices as identified by the Obama administration. Under Chief Bering, there has been a greater focus on mental health, domestic violence. Our fire department is also involved in those activities, and particularly the fire department and the police department have done quite a bit with training people how to use Narcan and deal more with drug overdoses. For those of us who hear the stats twice a week, the number of drug overdoses is very concerning. Obviously, chemical and substance abuse issues tend to be very real in our community as they are in the state and the rest of the country. We are always open to new ideas on mental health. I think it's no surprise that we are often resource challenged, but today's modern police and fire departments, our human services departments, we're dealing with these issues more and more. And we will continue to exercise those best practices. Thank you. I also want to just comment about Wildbrook. Came up last week. Although we're not completely done with our research on it, what was identified on Wildbrook is a private bridge, that is weight restricted. Our garbage trucks operated by a private operator on our behalf, GFL, cannot cross that bridge because of the weight restriction. In addition, if we were able to cross the bridge, there is nowhere for the truck to turn around. So we do have some challenges. I will state that this may be an item that we bring forward to the legislative committee. Frankly, there are multiple private bridges in the community, and the discussion that came up was we need to inventory the private bridges and begin gauging, how we provide the most basic services, public safety and emergency services, to get across those private bridges. So I think there'll be more on that to come before council in the future.
Madam Chair? Oh.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I was going to ask the administrator. If Fred, I didn't want to interfere if you still were going, but I was going to bring up something that needs to follow up on that came up in the Finance Committee on the 19th. We briefly spoke about it. It's a demolition on Fairfax. It's in a $30,000 block of Fairfax. Could you expand on that a little bit?
If I may, Madam President?
Yes.
At Friday's Finance Committee, our purchasing department is pursuing a demolition at at 350 in the Fairfax block. The demolition is by court order. The home is currently privately owned. Unfortunately, from time to time, the city, through our code enforcement and our building department, finds it that homes that we need to pursue a demolition order, and that's the property at Fairfax. We typically ask the court upon authorizing the demolition order to place a lien on the property for taxes. But that is the demolition in that 300,000 block of Fairfax.
Right. And the reason that came up was I entertained a couple questions on the weekend about that property, and they want to make sure it was not the SNRI property. And would the city obviously be reimbursed for the demolition?
Well, if the property is not owned by the Southfield Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative, it is privately owned. The property, the court will order that a lien for the amount of the demolition be placed on the property to be collected. We're not always successful in collecting those liens. And if the property is foreclosed on or goes into bankruptcy, there are times we lose our interest in those properties. And over the years, there have been a number of those that demolitions that we have lost our interest in.
Okay. Thank you. Will you answer that? Thanks, Mr. Zone.
If I may, Madam President, I just want to touch on the contract. Typically, the administration does not speak about contracts, but council has authorized a technical agreement. However, what we've agreed to until the contract is presented in its final draft for execution, if council will recall, the administration has indicated that we've had multiple technical agreements from 2008, and that these contracts simply need to be cleaned up. There is too much confusion with these every 3-year TAs and the contracts not being finalized. And I can tell you our HR and legal team is working on that. And, just cleaning up languages or contracts that were not in a finalized form going back as far as 2008. I'd also like to comment just on the business license registration. As code enforcement officer Tyrese Beats had indicated, the COVID situation only highlighted how much we need to have a database to reach out to our businesses. And we're using the terminology, we're starting out with our brick and mortar businesses, those businesses that are located in non-residential areas first. There will be questions that come up with residential businesses. And it is clear with the onset of COVID, more and more people are working out of their homes. And I think the most basic thing applies about home-based businesses. As long as they're operating and not disturbing the characteristic of a residential neighborhood, I don't think there's a problem, but we will have future items in front of Planning and Zoning Legislative Committee to move those forward. Also, I want to thank Council for allowing us to move forward on donor and the international automotive components with that public hearing and make those adjustments. We're very much on chartered waters, watching corporate America realign its space needs. Both companies, some reduction in space, and we'll continue to monitor that. Want to comment, we are in the peak of budget season. Our finance director, Austin Michaels, and deputy finance director, Hanan Azu, are getting us through budget prep. In addition, they are aggressively working on our new software with BSNA for our accounting software. And that work, the prep work is happening on that. That new software implementation will be very much a summer of 2021 project. My final comment is, I have two other comments. March Board of Review starts March 1st. That is the peak season for our assessor. Equalization notices are going out right now. If people have questions, they should contact our assessor's office. And then finally, the mayor brought up Parks and Rec. This Friday is one of our last of our Black History Month events, and that is the Secret Society of the Twisted Storytellers. This was a phenomenally well-received event last year. We're offering it in a different format. You can find more information on the city's website under Parks and Rec, and the event starts, it's Friday, February 26th at 7:30 p.m. Tickets are $10. It was incredible last year. Just a couple other things on Parks and Rec. We're finally getting a break in our weather, and strongly encourage people to walk the front loop, the circle in front of City Hall, the walk through history. It is incredibly full of good history and things that when I went through it, things I didn't know, and it was very enlightening. So hopefully the next few days get some milder weather and more people can get out. Final thing is the Winter Park Adventure. That is a hike scheduled for Saturday, February 27th at 6 p.m. And that will take place at the Civic Center Park Nature Trail starting at 6 p.m. You can register for that event at 796-4620. Again, that's area code 248-796-4620. All of these events in Parks and Rec can be found at the city's website under Parks and Rec. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. And Mr. Administrator, before you leave, you mentioned, and the caller had mentioned about the contract. I know we don't normally talk about that, but we being the council, we did see or was presented the TA agreement, and that we voted on that. We were talking about the contract.
Yes, ma'am.
What was there something, and I don't know if this can be answered or not, but whatever was agreed upon in the tentative agreement, was it date sensitive? So is that why the caller was asking if we had approved the contract? Is there things that they are waiting for that has not happened?
Obviously, Madam President, I don't know the individual details of this, but under Michigan law, if a bargaining group is out, there would be two things. One, there will be a raise, and on that, with the implementation of that contract. But under Michigan law, certain people who may be in certain time frames for additional benefits, additional days off, additional vacation time. If the contract's not up to date, it cannot move forward.
So do we have any?
That's the sensitivity to that.
Okay,
But
so do we have any timeline when the contract will be presented?
I
completed?
believe we're real close to the final version. I do need to speak back with my HR director. I believe that once that's finalized, unless there are no substantive changes, we will be able to present it to the mayor and clerk for execution. However, I am also asking that the bargaining group sign first.
Okay, so is it in our court or in their court? I'm just trying to find out where the contract.
For the exact position on that, Madam President, I need to check. And
Okay.
I hope to have an answer for you tomorrow at 9 a.m.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Attorney?
Good evening, Madam President. I have nothing further, to add tonight, and just wish everybody well.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Good evening. Nothing to add tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Treasurer? Oh, he was on earlier.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I had unmute. I just wanted to, hello, Madam President?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to let our residents know that the deadline to make tax payments is now currently March 1st for any payment. After that, it has to be made to the Oakland County Treasurer's Office. They will send out notifications to anybody typically about a month or two after the bills, after the tax rolls go over to them. So just any additional questions, I'm happy to answer. And our residents can call in for any questions that they have or look it up on the website, taxes.cityofsouthfield.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Planner Crode? Are you still on? Okay. City Assessor, Mike? And our City Engineer? Okay. We have nothing to schedule. No. I'm sorry.
Council President?
Yes, yes.
I have a question to the city treasurer, just clarification, please.
Yes.
Tim, Mr. Lowenberg, did you say that the taxes which were due February 14th have now been deferred to March 1st?
No, we can accept payments. I'm sorry about that. We can accept payments with the interest charge attached to it, but we can still accept payments up until March 1st. After March 1st, we close our books and we transfer over the remaining unpaid balances to Oakland County, and they will make us whole on the unpaid balance. They advance us the funds, and then they take over and they collect over there, and they charge 1% per month as their interest charge. We charge 0.5% per month.
Okay, thank you. I thought you said that the taxes due on the 14th were delayed until March 1st. So thank you for the clarification.
We actually delayed it till February 17th this year, because February 14th was on a weekend, and then 15th was a legal holiday, and 16th was actually going to be the due date, but because of the snowstorm, so we gave an extra day.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have nothing to schedule, no new ordinances to introduce, and nothing for closed sessions. So, Council, if there's nothing else for our meeting tonight, I declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.